We're on, we are reserved for vets at its all new time, a time we can't even figure out because of PC issues. My apologies. So no, we've kind of decided well, hold on, let me back up. Welcome to Reserve from Vets. I'm Matthew. We're going to talk about stop blaming others and how and why that's important today, along with probably 30 other things. You have to my right, Chad from Mental Joe. What's up, bro?
What's up? How we doing?
Good. And down below, Dr. Dave. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, everybody.
I love this. We are going to get into our topic here in just a couple of moments, but for the last 30 minutes, Dave's been helping me diagnose my laptop issues on my computer because I literally am having so much lag on this thing. So that's why like my hands don't match my mouth, and it's this whole thing, and it's been very, very frustrating. I wish I knew more about computers. I really do. I wish, because there's some people like the guy below who are like, yeah, you just need to do this, and you do this, and you do this, and you do this. And it's like, how? I don't know how to do that. So thank you, by the way. I know we didn't fix anything, and I look like crazy crap, and I'm all glitchy, but we're here. We're here. How's everybody feeling?
Good.
Is this going to throw you off that my voice is all crazy and I don't match my video?
No, it's fine.
No, you're good.
You know what? It's
You're
just like
good.
when you're watching the news and they go to the person who's doing the news in another country, and it takes like 2 seconds to sort of hear what they're going to say. That's what this will be.
That's all right. We can have a delayed podcast. It's not the first time. I suppose a podcast group has had that. So hey, we'll make it work.
Well, listen, I want to get to a couple of things today, but first, Chad shot 3 hours of content today. This guy you're a content creating machine now. Are you an influencer?
Shit, no, it's nothing. Nothing I want to do. Right? I'm kind of, if we're gonna grow, I got to get out there and be vulnerable and make this stuff happen. And it's not my strong suit. I don't like it. But yeah, we shot about 3 hours worth of contents and some questions that we've actually got from some folks that have bought in our apparel and stuff. So yeah, got that going. So a lot of that new content should be pushed out here eventually. So excited to see how that goes.
What does that mean when you say like get vulnerable? What are you talking about?
You know, you kind of, for me, it's like I kind of say you got to set in your shit a little bit, right? You gotta eat that crow even. Things that are uncomfortable to talk about, you know, my mental health journey, and again, how we talk, and we will talk more about, you know, blaming others. You know, it's kind of the topic today. I'm sure there's a lot of people I blamed for my mishaps or why me and woe's me, as opposed to just saying, hey, like there's some things that we've got to kind of clean our front porch here. And in order to move forward, that has to happen first. So, you know, I think you just, you know, one of our t-shirts is own your shit. I think you just got to own your stuff, man. You got to get after it. That's what it says. Own your shit.
Okay, cool. Dave, I bet you should get one of those and wear it to your next job interview if you ever get one.
Hey, but I'm with Chad on this one. You know, it's hard to put yourself out there. You know, so you can go through different iterations of, you know, does what I have to say have an impact? You know, being sensitive to criticism, you know, so what if I say the wrong thing and then I get avalanched with complaints or, you know, negative feedback by it? I mean, so you have to kind of take a deep breath and dive in. You know, not all of us are media people.
Yeah. What does that mean?
We're not as polished as
not polished. That's right.
Not as polished, right? Well, you know, it's a skill that people develop, and you're right. I mean, I laughed for years. You know, you would inevitably meet somebody everywhere I went at least, and somebody would walk up to you, usually a guy, and he would say, "Yeah, I used to do a little radio." I was like, "Oh yeah, what'd you do?" And he was like, "You know, back in college, I was on my college radio station," and I was like, That's cool. I mean, like you know, a lot of people have touched what I've done. Not very many people stayed with it, but a lot of people have kind of sampled what I've done, and I don't know. You know, it's funny. It's like Howard Stern. He busts people's chops all the time. He's like, people will meet me and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I have a podcast too." And it was like, dude, what we're doing here and what you're doing on your podcast with your buddies are about worlds apart. I don't even know why I told you that story, but here's why I wanted to talk about stop blaming others. Okay. And this is kind of like where it came from, just so we know. I'm working with a team right now, and we've got a couple of situations where folks are looking out and not at themselves, right? This is part of the tough part of sport, is that some kids make certain teams, other kids make other teams, right? And when you're right there on the edge or the cusp of somebody who probably could have gone up or down, there's some soreness there after that decision is made. So now we're swimming in that space right now, and there's a couple of athletes that are like, it's everybody else's fault. Practice is this, the players are this, the coaches are this. And then there's a couple of others who have kind of taken it on as an opportunity to make things better for themselves. And so that's eventually where I'd like people to go. But Dave, maybe you talk a little bit about this idea of blaming others. And first up, why it's easy to do. And well, let's just start there. Why it's so easy to do.
Yeah. Well, just to clarify something, are you talking about the kids or the parents or both?
No, I'm talking about some of the young athletes, right?
So the kids, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So I think that's something that you have to grow into, because I don't think that kids automatically have the maturity to kind of own their own mistakes or what have you. You have to learn how to do that.
Okay, good. Good advice.
So I think it's easy to kind of point your fingers elsewhere, especially, if you started out athletic and you were, a child prodigy and doing really well, and everybody told you how amazing you are, maybe compared to the kids that were not athletic, you were amazing. But as you go further up the ladder, you start finding yourself more in the middle. A personal example was for me with medical school. So in grade school, I was at the top of my class. In high school, I was at the top of my class. I was valedictorian in high school. College, I did really well. Yeah.
Did you give a speech?
I did, yeah.
Good.
Don't ask me what it was. I don't remember. A long time ago. But in college, I did really well, but I wasn't at the top of my class. And then in medical school, I was right in the middle. So when you go through all of your life up until that point, and the big eye opener for me was my first gross anatomy exam. So I was like a month into medical school. My first gross anatomy exam, I got like a 54. I'm like, oh my God, like this is such a shock, because I've never, struggled with work like that before. So you have to reset. And if you approach a failure like that with, well, it was the environment, I couldn't study correctly, they gave me crappy notes, the people that are on my team aren't pulling their weight. If you start, externalizing and looking for solutions outside of yourself, you're never going to solve that, because you have no control over what these other people do. You have no control over the environment or the random things that happen that shape the situation that you're in. The only thing you have control over is yourself and your response to things, right? So kind of swallowing hard and accepting, look, I screwed up. Like I didn't give my level best on this one, or if I did do my best, I missed something along the way and ended up failing. So you have to kind of walk it back and try to get back into problem solving mode and figure out what went wrong. And we've kind of talked about that before in terms of, not wasting an opportunity, not wasting a failure, and trying to get what you can out of it.
Yeah, so that's good advice, especially when it comes to the younger minds, right? That's something to consider. And I think one of the things that I lose sight of sometimes is that they're not little 18-year-olds. They are, in fact, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, and they're developing, and there's a lot of things happening there. But now let's switch gears to adults, because I certainly, and all of us probably have gotten to a stage where, okay, let's say we're at our job and it's starting to turn a corner, and we can see that it's headed to a place where we're like, I don't really like that, right? And I can just kind of feel it coming. You go back to your cubicle and it's like, yeah, well, I can't leave here cause, or I'd be the manager if, or I can't hit the bonus because they made it too high, and you start finding all these reasons out there, exterior reasons that things aren't working out for you. So let's jump off right there.
I mean, is that Dr. Dave? Is he coming in with some wisdom, or is this just
I don't know. No, we should just hash this out a little bit, Chad. I think, because we've all, and maybe even give specific examples like I can, when I was in radio, I remember you'd get into that thing where you'd be like, well, I would be better if I didn't have this program director, or I'd have more money, if we had better sales force, or, whatever it is. You get into that stage where there's all these reasons that ain't working for you.
Yeah, and I think that's just for anybody. We've all been there at some point in our lives, and through those excuses. I mean, I definitely was. I've been in corporate America for 20 years. So there's all kinds of different relationships and people coming in with different thought patterns and whatnot. And there was definitely times I was always a very high performer, so I never really worried about that. But there was other things that came in. You're like, why am I not a manager? Well, I can tell you, I'm not real politically correct, and I kind of just call it like I see it, and corporations don't like that. So if I want to move up the chain, I've got to kind of play their game and with their lingo. Me, I wasn't a game player. I was just a guy that showed up, that did his work. So I would use those excuses on why I didn't get promoted. Well, no, if you look in the mirror, I probably could have cleaned up. I probably could have been a little bit more politically correct. I probably shouldn't have called certain people out in meetings. So yeah, I think there's an array of that stuff. And as long as you're willing to set with that and look at that and go, you know what? Like I said before, I still have the asshole volume in me. It just depends when I want to turn it up or not, right?
Right. Usually your boss doesn't want to be called an asshole. So that usually doesn't go well.
It's funny because most of my bosses, became friends. There's an old boss of mine that, just done with the last corporation I was with, and ran into him at Flagstaff, and bought him a beer, and him and I shot the shit. And so it's kind of nice because, they're like, hey, we love you. But man, when you got on meetings, you told it like it is, and no one wants to hear that. So it was kind of like, that's why you were the task guy, the task monkey that just hammered through stuff, because you're good at getting through brick walls, but you weren't real clean on how you delivered your thought process,
Yeah. Is that something that you're trying to be more mindful of now, Chad? Like, is ketamine open that up in you? Because, like I've dealt with a lot of dudes who have that coarseness to them, and I struggle with it, quite frankly. But has it softened you up a little bit?
A ton.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty brash, and I'll get to the point, but I try to take it with, how is this person receiving this? Or if I know the information that I'm about to give is going to probably come off wrong because I'm not the smoothest cat in the building, I'm going to preface that. Hey, man, I don't know how to put this together without hurting maybe feelings or feel goods. But guess what? This is what I got going on, or this is what I'm thinking of. And I'm sorry if I didn't put it in the right context so you could understand it better. But yeah, I would never have those kind of conversations. So now I'm trying to understand how that information is being taken in. But my DNA is my DNA. I am who I am. But like I said, if I've overstepped boundaries, I can feel that now in people's different energy. And hey, I apologize, or hey, did I say the wrong thing? So I'm learning as I continue this journey how to be better about that.
Right. And what that communicates, Chad, is that you respect the relationship. Right. So even if you do have something blunt to say, prefacing it by saying, look, I respect you and I respect your feelings and your opinions, but this is what I have to say. Like, that's a lot different than just, steamrollering somebody and not caring one way or the other. Yep. Right. So that you're going to have a different outcome, where when sometimes people are just being brash, they're not they don't care about the feelings of the other person. So there's no communication of respect, and there's no expectation of respect.
No.
But it's interesting, this feeling like things are against you in a situation. Sometimes they are, right? Sometimes for whatever reason, your boss doesn't like you, or you have a coworker that maybe they're trying to move up and trying to step on you to get ahead. I mean, so sometimes that's not a wrong assessment. Sometimes you're misaligned with the goals of the organization. Maybe the direction they're going in is not the way you see it, and maybe there is a genuine incompatibility there. But I think what it comes down to is, what do you do with that, right? So if you feel like somebody's working against you, if you feel like your goals are not aligned with the organization's goals, if you let that embitter you, right, you kind of take it in and chew on it and get angry about it, and don't do anything productive or positive to change the situation, that bitterness is going to cause a lot of damage, and not just for you in terms of your performance at work, but it's going to spill over into other relationships and friendships and intimate relationships, family relationships, your productivity outside of work. So that's where I think you have to raise a flag of caution, is, how are you handling it? It's not so much that you're in a situation that's a mismatch, or a perceived mismatch, but what are you doing with that?
Yeah, I mean, that red flag, that gut feeling, or what feels off about that, right? Are you looking to correct your protocol and how you approach stuff? Are you looking to move within the company? Is it time to get find another job? Like you said, there are definitely instances where you can feel that, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ, I don't want to be here. So time to, as I would say, pop smoke and get the hell out of Dodge. So yeah, there's definitely that, but there's handfuls upon handfuls of probably instances I've looked back, posing this question, Matthew, of like, okay, own it, look in the mirror, and get your shit right. Again, own your shit, man. You've got to own, where you're falling short at.
Right. Even if you come to the conclusion that you're in the wrong job, your boss is an egotistical maniac and he's never going to change, and you just hate what you're doing, but you're stuck there because that's the only job that you have and you need to provide for your family. Knowing that and making that a conscious choice, saying, okay, this is not where I want to be. This is where I am right now. I will do the best I can with it for the time being, and look elsewhere. Put your feelers out and start looking for work elsewhere. But just go in with the mindset of, I'm going to do the best I can each day, and I know that this is a temporary situation because I know that I don't belong here. I don't fit here. That's
right. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that still kind of takes some of the sting out of it, and keeps a certain level of insulation so that you're not internalizing it and becoming bitter over it. You're choosing to stay in a situation that's not ideal until you can create something better. I think that's valid, and that will insulate you from that bitterness.
Yeah,
right.
And I think too, there's a massive chunk of America that are in those situations that you just described, right? Like they hate their job, but they gotta provide for their family, so they're just gonna essentially go at it to the best of their ability. Next thing you know, they've been there 7 years and they still hate their job, but they can't find a way out, and that just rolls into other things. Like you said, it alienates you from family and friends, and it makes you pissed off because you hate your job, and it's Monday and you don't want to go into work because now you got to go see this crappy boss again. So it's crazy, because I was in that realm until I kind of had that thought process of I can do something on my own and do it with a passion that I love. So
there's another aspect of this that I'm thinking back to some old management programs that I used to listen to years ago from Tom Peters, Reinventing Work. So if you're familiar with Tom Peters, one of the things that he suggested is volunteer for crappy jobs. So if there's something in your organization that's not working well, volunteer to be the one who fix it. So number one, nobody else wants it, so you're not going to be competing with anybody. limping along. So anything that you do to fix it is going to be welcomed by the organization. And if you take a lump of coal and turn it into a diamond, now you're the most valuable person in the room, and you've earned the respect of other people and the legitimate right to move up in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes being stuck in a situation, if you just feel trapped and feel hopeless about it, see if there's a piece that can move by maybe going into things that are undesirable and making them into gold.
Yeah, I mean, I love everything that you guys are saying right now. It just makes so much sense. My cat is going to walk through the frame.
That's fantastic.
That's
It looks
great.
like an octopus tentacle coming
Yeah.
down.
Well, Luna is a Sphinx cat, so she has no hair. So she looks like a rat tail. That's why I look like a rat tail as you were coming down. Oh my God. One of the greatest pieces of advice that I was ever given was in this book by Michael Singer. He's written a couple of different books, but here's the gist of it. Stop taking everything personal. Stop really taking anything personal. They're really, it's like your ego wants to think that everybody's attacking you and coming after you and all of that stuff, but it really couldn't be further from the truth, because think about how much time you spend in your own head. That's everybody else too. And they're really not out to get you. And they're not, I mean, some people are, right? There's evil people in the world. That's a truth. Right. But most of the time, nobody's trying to get you. Can we talk about that? There's the cattail again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's several different people I think that have approached that. Don Miguel Ruiz is very huge on that. Don't take things personally.
That's the 4 agreements, right?
Yep, that is the 4 agreements. And then you take into, we're both huge David Goggin fans, right, Matthew? And there's a video I posted today, and that's literally what he says. Like, once you step back and you gain some clarity, you can really look at this and understand everybody's fucked up. Everybody's got their stuff going on, and no one's really out to get anybody. We're all just trying to survive. And if we can all step back and take a moment of clarity and realize, like, hey, no one's really out to get me personally, but it might have felt like a personal attack because that guy didn't, he didn't go to the gym. He didn't get his hug from his wife. His kids left, and all he had was a cup of coffee. So his day started bad. So now he's at work and he's taking it out on you. So I've learned to try to, step back, have that moment of clarity. And why am I taking that personally? Maybe they're just having a bad day and I'm the first person they talk to,
Yeah, because my thing is, like, what if you're the person sent to change their mood? What if you're like the person who really could make a huge difference in their day? You could turn the tide from them. I think people are a smile away from having a lot better day, don't you?
Yeah, and I think you could run with that too. If you felt slighted at work by a coworker or boss or whatever, maybe later on in the day, just check in with them and say, hey, this morning you seemed a little preoccupied. Is everything okay? Is there anything I can do to help you, or anything I can take off your plate? So instead of taking it like that you were stepped on, kind of use that as an opportunity to see if you can help out or be the answer for somebody else.
Yeah, I like that so much. I mean, that's just the way that I live my life. And again, it goes back to the ego thing, right? Like, stop taking it personal. Stop thinking that they're out to get you. They might just be having a hell of a day. I want to welcome everybody who's just joined us on our Facebook page today. Reserved for Vets happens every Wednesday. Usually we do it at 4. We've since switched it to 1 o'clock because after some research, I hired a crack staff of internet researchers, and they told us that 1 or 3 o'clock are good times to stream live. And even though we podcast this and we put it up later, it still is fun if we can get some people coming through and asking questions and spicing it up a little bit and all those things. So I just wanted to mention that as some new people jump in. Look at that. Boom. We welcome your questions. So please, when you get a second, or if you have anything you want to ask us, go for it. So let's talk about boundaries, control, forgiveness, because prior to jumping on live, we all agreed that those were huge pieces of that idea of stop blaming others. So Dave, you probably want to start.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing to keep in mind is when you're dealing with other people, it's not a zero-sum game. It's not that there's, one pie, and if somebody else has a bigger piece, that means you're automatically getting a smaller piece. You can
say that again.
You can promote other people and help them to do better, and it only helps to elevate you. So if you're helping somebody be more effective at their job, it only helps you. You become the indispensable person in the room, and your value goes up. So it doesn't make sense to look at other people as competition.
I love that. God, I'm going to steal that for my hockey team, dude. I'm not even kidding. It's so true. You think about it, right? It's like the quick, think about it in the military, right, Chad? The faster it all came together for your unit, the better you guys were. The sharper the guy was on the left and to the right, the sharper you had to be.
Yeah, it's, I'm probably going to screw up the old saying, but what is it? Iron sharpens iron kind of a deal, It's, there's so many different
saying? I've never heard that before.
No, iron sharpens iron. Yeah, it's kind of a, I guess you'd say almost like a fighters, like UFC, if you're into that. Like a lot of those guys kind of talk about it and stuff. But
there's actually a proverb.
Yeah.
As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another.
Boom. There we go. Look at this guy. I'm telling you, dropping it. Yeah. But yeah, I've found it out even in this game. It's interesting. I get a lot, of people in this mental health space, like, oh, we want to help. We want to do this. I am here. I have this vehicle. I'm like, hey, I'm here to help too. And it's amazing how many people haven't reached out that are all about the mental health or wanting to know more about it. So it's interesting. So even on the social media, I've reached out to some people that, mental health is their platform. And I've reached out, hey, can I send you a shirt? Hey, can we talk? Hey, so very pleasantly persistent, but it's like their volume's off. Like I can't get a reply from these people. They don't want to talk, but they want to preach it. But when it's time to kind of put boots on the ground, it's interesting. Like that whole, helping someone out to elevate them. It's weird. It's not there. And I'm really feeling that and kind of seeing that with different organizations.
Dave, you want to pick up on that?
Well, when you go out of your way to help other people instead of viewing them as competition, you're creating an environment that invites them to reciprocate. That it makes it, you're creating an environment of openness, and so it invites other people to do the same in response. Kind of like the pay it forward thing. If you do something, a random act of kindness for somebody, you set their day off in a good way that they're more likely to do something kind for somebody else instead of withdrawing and becoming more negative. It's not a guarantee, but it kind of sets the tone.
Yeah, I'll even do silly little things like if it's not like I buy coffee all the time, but like the boys, like once a week we probably take them to McDonald's. So I'll when we get to the window, I'll literally tell the person, hey, I'm going to pay for ours, and then whatever the total is behind me, I got their stuff. So I try to do it in little things like that, or hey, I'm going to get this person behind me, throw $10 towards their tab. So I try to do little things like that. One, it makes me feel good too. It's like you said, maybe that person had a bad day. They're there to get their cup of coffee. And the fact that they got a $5 cup of coffee bought for them completely changed the outlook of their shitty beginning of the day.
Yeah. And kindness is really about motivation. And this goes back to some of the stuff that I learned with my Buddhist training. It's like you can't plant seeds because you're planting seeds to expect a great big tree to grow next to you. It's like your motivation to help somebody needs to be to truly help them, to truly lend a helping hand. And if you're, and a lot of people run into this, they have a really kind of maybe a half-assed version of karma. And so they think like, well, I did something nice today, and then this shitty thing happened to me. It's like, well, hold on. That's not quite.
It's not how it works.
It's not quite how it works, right? It isn't, but a lot of people make that mistake. But then they'll go and they'll say, well, I've been doing everything right for the last few weeks. You know, I'm reaching out to people, I'm smiling, I'm doing all the things, and nothing's happening. And it's like, that's because your motivation is to make something happen. You see the difference? Your
Right.
motivation isn't to make an impact in somebody's day. You're still doing it for yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
because you're
And that energy,
expecting something in return.
Right.
and people pick up on that energy, and it's repulsive to them.
Of course.
Right.
course
I
it
think
is.
we
Yeah.
might have talked about this like 1 or 2 episodes back, but and tell me if we did or not. But you get what you're looking for. Did we talk about that?
No, but even if we did, I think we can circle back
Yeah.
around.
I mean, if you're starting the day thinking that everybody that I'm going to encounter, every random person I'm going to encounter today is going to be an asshole, you will get that. You will get that outcome that you're looking for. And part of it is because you're going into it with an angry mindset, with a negative mindset. You know, somebody says something that you take slightly the wrong way and you respond harsh to them, and then they really dig in and withdraw. And you say, well, you see that? Look at how they're treating me right now. They're withdrawing from me. They answered rude. Well, they're just responding to what you put out. You know, so you're eliciting in other people what you fear or what you didn't want to have happen, because that's what you believe is there. If you on the other hand go out saying, you know, I'm just going to be kind to everybody. You know, if somebody is in a hurry to get in front of me on the highway, I'm just going to let them go. You know, we're going to get there at the same time. It doesn't make a difference, right? So you start with that mindset and just assume that people are, you know, just trying to get through the day, and you're going to go and just try to be kind to other people. What that opens up is the stuff that you never realized, right? So the answer to the problem that you have may be in the person that you're about to meet. But if you approach them in a negative way and they're repulsed by it, you shut down the conversation and they never spontaneously share with you the thing that you needed, right? On the other hand, if you approach the world with kindness, in the process of a conversation, you may mention something to some random person, and because you are kind, they volunteer the solution to your problem, right? Hey, you know, you just mentioned that. I actually know somebody that does that thing, right? And that can really help you with it, right? If you were a jerk, they wouldn't volunteer that information for you, and you wouldn't be any further along in the direction that you're trying to go.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like you do it like a vending machine. I put a quarter in and I get a piece of candy. You just do it. You just live generously, live kindly, and good things will follow from that spontaneously. Not immediate cause and effect, but it's just you're creating an environment where growth can occur.
Yes, I love this. I'm going to give you everybody a really cool example. I live my life this way. I think you know that, and I'm really genuinely out there to try to make people feel a little bit better about themselves and their situation. And because of that, cool shit happens to me all the flipping time, right? And I love that, and I'm aware of it. And when it happens, I'm super grateful about the whole thing. And you know, so you get reached out to. And this is just a small thing, but I want to tell you how much gratitude I have for this tiny, tiny thing. I went to Ace Hardware the other day because I had a question about this freaking valve that we have on the outside of our house, right? And I'm walking into the store and I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know what I'm supposed to ask for. I don't even know what this thing is. I have no idea. Like, I'm way over my pay grade on this whole thing. And I'm walking into the Ace Hardware and I say to Truman, my son, who I'm with, I'm like, yeah, I need to get like, you know, a faucet thing or something. I don't really know what it's called. And this guy overhears me and he walks up to me and he says, hey, I'm a master plumber. What are you looking for? Right then and there, man. Complete gratitude. It's not a mistake that happened. Why was that plumber at that Ace Hardware at the time I was? Like, I know that those type of people roll in those situations all the time, but come on. I've been to Ace 3,000 times, and I've probably, how many times have I been in the aisle with the master plumber? So, anyways, I thought it was cool, and I know it's a hardware store and those people are there, but not all the freaking time.
You covered it. I was going to give you shit and be like, Master Plumber, he's in the plumbing aisle, pal. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, but most of the guys that work at Ace, they're not like, maybe they used
No.
to be or something like that. But
For sure.
For him to be there at that time and in that moment, I thought, well, that's, of course he's going to be in that aisle, right? But again,
well,
I could have walked in that aisle, would have been bare.
And I think you get that from just learning to slow down and having moments of clarity.
Yeah.
Because that example there, like, I've got, probably just a handful of that kind of stuff, same thing. And then I walk out of the store, I'm like, oh, wait a second, that person was there at the right time.
Yeah.
To do that, and it met all needs, and everyone walked away smiling. So I'm still slowly, grabbing these things, but as I notice them, they're kind of aha moments for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna change that story next time I tell it to I was in the grocery store, just so I don't get
there.
shit.
You go with the master plumber with the frozen pizza in his hand.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. All right, pick up, Dave. I can see you.
Yeah, this was something that I had to learn for myself, because I was always, nobody can do it as well as me, and I had to kind of let go of that. I think it was like 2013 for some reason was kind of a change where I just stopped caring in the best possible way. Stop caring what people think, stop caring. You just live my life, be myself, try to be generous to other people, and don't overthink things too much. And that has worked out tremendously well.
How did you make the shift? Because we've talked about this before, and it's helpful for people to hear it, especially me. But I've kind of articulated to you in the past that for me, letting go felt like not caring. So how did you personally jump the hurdle of letting go? Because I know exactly what you're saying, and I think you know what I'm saying.
At the time, I almost changed jobs. And so changing jobs was a big fear that I had. You're starting over at a new organization and, leaving everything that I've been doing already. So like in 2013, I had been working for the same organization for 14 years, right? So that would have been a big transition. And it turned out the organization I was going to go to was about to screw me over. And so I was able to get out of that situation before fully committing to it. But just getting right up to the edge and being willing to jump off kind of broke something inside of me. Like I said, in the best possible way. There's no reason to be afraid of anything. If you are not happy with where you are, make a change. You can window shop, and looking costs you nothing. If you look and you don't find anything better than where you are, at least you can stay in the current situation knowing that it's your choice to stay there and that you're doing so because that's the best option right now, right? And so it changed my mindset, going up to that edge, looking over, taking one step forward, about to jump, and then pulling it back. It shook something loose in me.
Did you, when you started to do that, when you got into that mindset, did you start networking more? Did you notice that you just got out more? Were you more social? Were you throwing yourself out there as a whole more?
I think I had started getting out there more a couple of years ahead of that already. So about 2010, 2011 or so, I started getting out and networking with people more. And not in the mental health space, just in general.
Yeah. Chad, because I wonder for you, right? Like for me right now, that's the biggest thing I'm doing in this transition of my career is I'm networking my brains out. And I'm just trying to be as many places as I can because of what we just talked about. I'm going to meet the next master plumber at the grocery store in the frozen food aisle. I just know it, right? It's going to happen, but it's not going to happen if I sit here in my house, in my studio, and I never leave except to get groceries and gas.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I can speak to that just being new kind of entrepreneur. I know I definitely have got to get out more. But I've been so internally driven to get this stuff right, here in front of me with finding the right manufacturers and calling people and having meetings with them, that I haven't allotted my time correctly to get out in the community more. And that's one thing that we're working with Mental Joe is I want to time block my weeks better. So, hey, Wednesdays, what it is I'm going out and finding 2 or 3 different things, whether it's on Facebook or whatever these events are, and attending these events with, just to make one connection. Go small with it, right? Don't set the expectation of I got to meet 6 people and they got to do X, Y, and Z. No, just go. If I talk to one person, I was meant to talk to that one person. So I'm trying to get better at that as well. So kudos to you to know that that's what you got to do when you're out there freaking knocking doors down and meeting people.
You just have to. I mean, that's where the world is. That's, and the pandemic really slowed a lot of us down. It isolated a lot of us. It made us really comfortable. Everybody's working from home. But man, that's not where, I mean, you want to think the internet's where it's at, but most big decision makers aren't surfing the web. They're living their life and they're out making shit happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm an introvert by nature, so it's not easy for me to do that. I gotta really push myself and work at it.
Yeah, well, you do a good job, man. I mean, you're a product of your work and you do a good job. You're easy to be around. You're social. I mean, I don't feel like any of that shines through when I'm around you.
I think for me too, I've always been kind of a socialite, but these last couple of years, like I've become kind of more of an introvert, almost to the point where like the small talk, I'm just kind of like I saw
a post about that.
Yeah, I'm like really into like the meat and potatoes of somebody now. Like, what makes you tick and talk? Let's have a real conversation. I already talked to 10 other people. They all told me how hot it is outside. I don't need to talk about the weather anymore, right? So for 20 years in corporate America, that's, I'm done with the small talk. Like I want some more substance to people I connect with.
Huh.
I think that's also a function of getting older too. Because I think
it is, right? You want quality as you get a little older. Yeah,
well, it's such a weird space. When we were kids, and you guys can tell me if this was your experience too. Okay. It's so easy to make friends with kids in your neighborhood, right? You just go outside. You live on the same block. You see the same kids running around on the street all the time, and you just go out and just start hanging out with the kids in the neighborhood and make friends, right? You're on the bus together going to school. Everybody becomes so hyper specialized as they get older. You have a career path, and you have people that are kind of in that space, and maybe you meet some people that your kids go to school with, but everybody becomes so hyper specialized that you just kind of stop meeting people outside of your area, I think, for a lot of folks. And you have to deliberately push back against that. Just find curiosity in different people that you meet. And again, if you're putting generosity out there, if you're putting kindness out there, it's easy to meet other people. It's easy to start conversations with other people. You create magnetism.
Yeah, I was speaking a couple of weeks ago at this. I don't want to blow this up, so I'll just say it like this. I was speaking to a group of people. One of the young men in the audience made a comment. He stood up and he was kind of talking about the system that he was in, and he was saying, and then this sucks, and nobody will help me with this, and nobody will help me with this, and I can't get anything going here, and just kind of going on and on. And so I just kind of let him finish what he said, and I said, let me ask you a question, okay? You're clearly looking for answers. It's clear to me you want help. If you were in the middle of the street bleeding out and I came over to help you and all I heard was I can't help you. I won't be able to help you. More importantly, I almost don't want to help you because you're being such a jerk about it. Now,
yep.
What is, what's the feeling on that? And I know, Ched, you got to wrap up here pretty quick.
No, I'm right on board with that. That's a different way of saying what I was saying before. He's communicating that it's all about him. You know, people aren't doing this for me. People aren't opening this door for me. People, okay, you're talking about what everybody else is doing. What are you doing for other people?
There it is.
How are you enriching the lives of the people that are around you? What value do you add to their life? What value do you add to their project that they're working on? Right. So if you come in as a problem solver, if you come in as a giver, the doors will open for you. People will go out of their way to open the doors for you. Right. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Right. So yeah, I mean, if you believe that everybody sucks, everybody's selfish, everybody is just in it for themselves, people are going to pick up on that vibe because they're seeing you as, you know, this kind of walled off person who's waiting for some magic situation to happen where somebody's going to bring it to you. You know, you be the change. You bless somebody else's day. You be the solution to somebody else's problem. And everything that you need is going to get taken care of. Maybe not in the order that you want, maybe not in the way that you want, but things will work out.
Dave, I'm going to put all of that to music, and I think it's going to go viral on TikTok.
I love it.
All right, guys, listen, Chad, I know you got to go. At Metal Joe, follow him, buy apparel, support the guys and girls that want to get some non-traditional therapies. Dr. Dave, thank you too, man, for all your wisdom and your viral, or your soon-to-be viral TikTok video. We'll see you guys next week, all right?
All right, stay well, everybody.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.